Let there be light. Ladies and germs. Ask a Demonologist, Part 3. November 9th, 2017, Episode 6, The Real Deals. It begins. Camera 3, now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Real Deals. What was that?
I'm taking my desk and
She'll be late for her own funeral,
Where's
folks.
Mr. Franken? We need to get me some nuggets when I need them.
Some nuggets, rabbit. All right.
Darling, top of the hour, and folks, what are we going to expect tonight?
We are going to expect Ask a Demonologist Part 3. We have some questions or some holdovers from last week's.
Please get your
Yes. More than 2 hours of
big
information.
munchies.
Not inflammation, but information.
And we are recorded, so you don't have to worry about recording us.
Yes, we got the other YouTube up. This is an interesting thing, if you think. Another reason not to like YouTube, but I got the last show is not available in the USA because of the copyrights of the show,
Your show's
Ghost
not
Adventures.
available?
So I had to edit out the entire video clip by placing an image over it in the video editor and then re-uploading it. So now it's up, but you don't get to see any of the reference material, even though it is the Fair Use Act. It flies, 1976. They don't care, you know.
Wow.
Their lawyer's bigger than ours. That kind of thing. And I don't want to take a chance of having our, 1,200 subscribers now and growing. Having to start all over. Subscribers? Subscriptions. Subscribes.
Maybe he knows we make enough money, like Mr. Soros and Boros. Maybe
Yeah.
buy some, like some people we know.
Do we have the ghostly trio on board here? Everybody's so
I
quiet.
hope so. My gosh, everybody's like they're like crypt keepers in the background. Is everybody here?
That's funny. It's just-
The Crypt Keeper.
We're here.
Anyway, we're going back to last week. A week of wonderful questions. A week of, let's get this. So everybody, let's put our little thinking caps on as we delve into Ask a Demonologist Part 2. Our next question. All right, this one comes from Joe Aguiar. Thank you, Joe, for your question. Do some human beings remain in Earth's atmosphere? In other words, we're all kind of like, is this like, you know, when you like make a wish on a dandelion, go, do we like remain in the atmosphere? I think that's it. After death. Or is all supernatural experiences that could be attributed to ghost always demonic? I think a lot of people like to believe that all ghosts are demonic, but is it possible that there are supernatural experiences that could be attributed to ghosts? You know, Deb, we know you are the hostess of the ghostest. So how about we try you first?
What I'd say about that, Farah, is like, well, the spirit could be earthbound.
Yes.
Maybe they have unfinished business,
Totally.
or they were doing something, and after when they, when they died, they didn't realize they died,
Oh
so
my
they
gosh,
have to keep
so
doing
true.
what they were doing. Carry on.
Oh, I agree. Just keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, there we get into the area of purgatory, the which is better defined not by that word, which has a bad rap and whatever. It's a just call it a place between this world and the next, or sometimes this world and heaven, or.
I mean, I can't use the word purgatory anymore.
Well, everybody, you know, is
Yeah.
there's a hellfire and brimstone side, and it's obvious. It's it's only one side of the story. If Jeffrey Dahmer somehow didn't go to hell, he's in the hellfire and brimstone part of
Totally.
purgatory. Just to kind of fill that little theory in there.
It goes to show you how old I am.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah, you're what? You're what? All of 39 again.
It's on this side here. So we got Christopher here to give us the seminarian spin on it, and then I'll add.
All right, everybody, let's get serious.
The Nortonator from the Van Halen belt. Norton.
Okay, Christopher.
Wrong one.
Help us, Christopher.
Okay, I would kind of take a step back when people talk in as far as making reference to spiritual, the spiritual realm.
Yes.
In reference to anything with time and space, and anything in that kind of plane of existence is free from all of that. They're not encumbered by that anymore. So to say that they're within the bounds of Earth, or however that was worded, I kind of, kind of do one of those things that. But as far as the second part of the question, I think that, as we've said before, periodically God allows spirits for whatever his purpose for them is to come through to our senses, make themselves known for whatever reason. But I don't think, as we all know, and as we've all made reference to, everything. Oh, good, the curtains are moving. Oh, that means Uncle Ted is around. Oh, good, Uncle Ted. Not everything is going to be that way.
True.
We have to remember the enemy is a deceiver, and will even come as an angel of light. And if he can come as an angel of light, surely he can come as dearly departed Aunt May, with the scent of flowers in the air. So
Spider-Man's Aunt May's dead?
Oh no.
Yeah, we just saw Spider-Man Homecoming a couple days ago. Sorry, my brain's still in the Marvel comics. Let's hear from the Nortonator from the Van Halen belt.
Oh man, here we go. So this is a tough one. So I would have to agree with Chris on this. I think if anything happens like this, it would have to be through the grace of God. So we do know, I'm trying to go through Scripture just to piece these things together. Was Ecclesiastes 9, all spirits return to God, whether good or bad. So if there was a reemergence of a spirit, it would have to be solely under the control of God. And we do know from, Luke 4, the rich man and Lazarus, where the rich man went to Hades, was boiling in the hot tub. We see from that, too, that he was pleading the angel to go back and warn his family, like, I need to warn them about what's going on. The angel says no matter what you could say can sway them now if they're not listening to the prophets. So it would have to be under some godly reason, like Chris said, to let these spirits return. But like I agree too, if the curtains are moving or somebody's house, it doesn't mean it's something spiritual. I know we get those calls all the time. My dog is looking at the corner. Like, well, so what? It takes more than that to prove that there's some sort of presence there or something's going on.
Yeah, well, that's a good one too, because there's a little difference between being at a place or a holodeck, living your purgatory scenario of community service, or being actually anchored here in this world for some reason, but not necessarily floating above the earth like in that movie Scrooge. He goes out there with a bunch of phantoms flying around there. They just look like corpses with sheets on or something. I don't know. That's almost a little different scenario. So it's a different level if you're a good spirit, that is. But they still consider purgatory. Like, let's say you're really attached to your family and you're worried about them, you might linger for a while because of that. And instead of being rushed away, because you still have a brain. You're not just a spirit. There's your own individual personality and your concerns and all that stuff. And the demons know this stuff. Even at the hour of your death, they try to work on you psychologically, even when you're unconscious in a coma. Farah, what say you?
Well, I got to stick my little nose and my 2 cents in on this one, all right?
You better.
As Michael was saying, our historical biblical facts, and I'm sure, Christopher, you can correct me on this, right or wrong, says that we are either here or we are with Christ in heaven. Meaning that our spirit, when we die, our Shema basically returns to the source. before judgment. So we're hanging out there. So how is it, though, that I can appear to, after I die, to a relative? Like he was saying, it's by the grace of God. And for whatever reason, Christ allows, for whatever reason, we don't know if it's purgation of the soul. We don't know if it's for the sanctity of the soul that a ghost, a ghostly image appears to someone. More often than not, when places are found to have active ghosts, or shall we say an apparition that is noisy, it can't be explained. It's not demonic, it's not hurting anything, but it's seen by many people and it's recorded over and over and over again. This spirit can be prayed back to where it's supposed to be, where its rightful order is, next to Christ awaiting judgment. That said, by God's express will, if it can't be prayed, then it is God's express will that it be here. So as we humans attempt to normalize or explain things according to sacred scripture, according to the magisterium and tradition of the church, and according to the saints, something still cannot be explained. And the things that are hanging out in the atmosphere of the earth are actually demons. They're not ghosts. So, my 2 cents.
There you go. The spirits of the air.
Yes, the prince of the air controls his voice.
Yeah, I tell you. Well, okay, ghosts, the good ghosts, we're not going to deal with too much in our work.
Nobody ever calls us about good ghosts. It's always a bad ones.
Those are my
it's always a
favorite
bad
stories.
Caspers we got to hang.
That's right, expel Casper.
I know.
I'm still waiting for that ghost to show up and tell me, that he wants to write a book on blood and swash. little inside joke there. Blood and swash. Call that the book. It'll be Alex Jones appearing. But plenty.
All right, nothing
Spirit
political.
wars, here it comes.
Nothing political. We'll get defragged, okay, with the yellow cash sign, okay? I'm not interested in getting defragged tonight, okay?
I know, literally defragged.
Or whatever that's called that you guys do when you put up your video and they say on you. I don't know what's that called.
Yeah. Next question. Oh, by the way, yes, post them in the chat. Post them in the comments, whichever one you're in the chat is on the...
Yes, and please, if you are enjoying this program, can you please give us a little like, give us a little smiley face, smoochy pie is fine, anything. You can follow us on Facebook at Kenneth and Farah Deel, OFS. You can always... Mike Norton loves it when you pester him. Okay, maybe not. And Christopher Sampson, he'll smirk at you really cute, too. He likes people. And Deb Johnson, trust me, you've got to go through her dog, so I would bring dog biscuits if I were you. But that dog won't take them from you. You'll have to give them to Deb first.
Oh, that's right. That's a Marmaduke. That one's scary.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you actually ride him outside to the shed the other day?
Jake wants me to put the pony saddle on her.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, maybe for the grandbaby, right?
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah. If nothing else, just hook the sled up and just strap the child in really well with duct tape because that dog's going to take off and not come back.
I know, right?
Oh, seriously, I've seen it happen. My dad did that to me and laughed. But not with a duct tape. I mean, he did it with rope, and my mother was upset because he roped me in. Yeah, they still got pictures. They still laugh about it when they drink up north.
We'll have to get him to send those pictures up on Facebook.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Let's see.
Next.
So, and that, is it? Are they all demons? That's the big question. We brought that up before. But let's move on to the next one. The person would like to know what Catholic Church. I don't know. Did we cover this in the other show? It's from Doris.
We might have. I think I checked it off if we did.
The Catholic Church. How does the Catholic Church feel about belonging to a paranormal team?
Oh, I don't think we covered that at all.
Okay.
And I think I think we ought to expand that, Doris. That way we can cover because I know about some of the Protestant denominations and how they've approached it and how I've approached them in the past too. So we can go around the table and talk about how do churches, starting from the Catholic Church and working our way around the circle of other denominations, how do they handle or what is their attitude towards people or Christians being on paranormal teams? So. I don't care whoever wants to start. I'll jump in later. Who wants to start, guys?
Okay, I'll start with it.
Hey, I'll jump.
Oh,
okay, good.
I'll jump.
Yeah.
Good.
I just didn't handle the silence. I remember that even in the seminary and since then, the officially, I've heard a few, notably priests especially, but they tend to, as far as if any mention is made of ghosts, which is few and far between, or that subject, they're very quick, to kind of laugh it off and say there are no such thing as ghosts. It is all demonic. There's no such thing as ghosts.
Yes.
And so officially, like I said, few and far between if and when that subject is even broached, is kind of laughed off. It's kind of, you do better by, reading your Bible. And, of course, the usual things that we all know. But as far as unofficially, I have people that pull me aside and say, hey, I know that you kind of help look into this. I kind of have something going on. So it's kind of under the table, hey, this is going on. So, I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. Not that I really get asked, not that I wear it on my sleeve, but, I every so often, if I'm talking about something else, I say, oh, yeah, I kind of help with this, and I am learning about this, and all of a sudden it becomes hushed tone. Hey, I've got this friend who, seeing these black shapes in her house, and that's just where it is. There seems to be that division, official versus unofficial. So.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. Oh, I have to tell you, Christopher, because you get a chuckle out of this real quick before we move on to Mike. Okay, we got we had an appointment with a new priest. It just was he had his ordination in May, and we're talking to him about approaching one of the other priests in our parish here down in the diocese. And okay, he doesn't know us. He doesn't remember us other than being a deacon before his ordination. He doesn't really know us, and we come in. And I see he's got this, huge bowl. Okay, now I'm talking about a 10-inch bowl full. Okay, full of chocolate. All right, my favorite, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, okay? Every kind of chocolate, M&Ms and everything else. And I'm like, oh, no, take it away. It's evil. It's possessed. Get it away. And the priest just looks at me like, oh, my gosh. He says, what? I said, the chocolate, it's talking to me. It wants to jump in my belly. Can you please get it out of my face? I'm going to eat the whole bowl. And he's like, oh, okay. The look on his face was like, do not joke about certain topics unless you know a priest well enough to joke. And you know who this is geared to? We had a little Rosellas poke me earlier. So you gotta be really, really delicate about certain topics. But I thought you'd get a kick out of there, Christopher. The look on his face, like, oh my gosh, I've got a nutter in my office. Poor guy. Yeah, that was fun.
Hey, your mic went out.
That was really fun.
That's right, yeah.
Whose mic went out?
Yours.
My mic went out? Can everybody still hear me okay?
You're kind of in and out right now. Yeah.
That's really strange. I'm kind of in and out right now. Okay, well, let's go around the table. Mike.
Yeah, it's not coming in at all. It's almost like it's the mic or something.
Yeah, so my position on paranormal is I don't participate in it, mainly because of the definition of what it is now. It's a people tend to be looking for proof of the afterlife, and that seems to be their driving motto. But what I tend to see is a lot of people obsessed and falling into demonic obsession with spirits. So, and it's divination. It's not really a ministry. So when people contact me, I'm doing other things. Like I said, we work with the survivors of a cult and things like that. But I'm not out there looking for proof for afterlife. If I'm called in, it's for a situation that has to be dealt with in spiritual warfare. There's something going on in a house. There's something going on with a person, and we're called in as a ministry to do it. And we do what we do. We go in and we get out. I don't carry pictures. I don't have videos of anything. We've done a lot of stuff. There's no evidence because I don't need it. I just don't need, I already have the certainty of what the afterlife looks like. But I'm pretty much staying way away from the paranormal part. A lot of times when we're called in by a paranormal team, I usually request if I can go off without them and look at the situation because I'm not there. Especially if a psychic's on scene or something, I don't want them there because I need that place sterilely clear for when we pray and have the Holy Spirit come in. So that's kind of our approach.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I have to agree with you. Can you guys hear me now? Okay.
Yeah. The
No.
microphone just totally quit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Maybe we should.
Lost you. Yeah.
Maybe we should just take a break real quick or something. I don't know.
Well, it's only 8:29, and besides that.
Gosh.
Yeah, you.
Better keep talking, Ken, because they lost me totally.
All right, so.
So Farah gets to go night-night.
Yeah, her mic quit. How nice.
No.
Lucky me.
So anyway, yeah. So I'll just keep things rolling here too. Work on the mic. So we've had contacted by church pastors who try to actually go out with paranormal teams, and that's some of the work I've done has been cleaning up pastors and people who thought they'd go out and bless the house, ended up getting seriously slimed by the occult or something out there. So it's just been more credence why we don't participate, and just we keep our people clean. In fact, we're going out to a winery, a big winery out here one of these days too. We're setting it up with a team just to go out and walk through the winery because the people working the winery have been seeing shadows down the cellars. So we're not going as a paranormal team. We're going down just to do a walk. And like we said, if something needs to be expelled or something needs to be released, that's what we're going to do.
I think maybe she's thinking of a one of those typical paranormal team stereotypes, with the ghost gadgets coming in with all those miles of cable, and then
Yeah, they're tech, they're exorcist, all the people. Yeah, they have titles.
Modified Radio Shack transistor radios, and that little thing with the
Xbox
sticker and the 7 LEDs on it. They, and so yeah. Well, I don't know if we talked about when we were talking about paranormal investigations or something several weeks ago on one of our beta shows. Apparently, we need another beta show. All the problems. Yeah, you're not supposed to do any of that for sport, for fun, for ghost hunting. Even if you say you're helping the person, not feel crazy by identifying that they have a ghost or a demon in their house, and you bring in all that equipment and you ask it to turn on a flashlight, you gave it permission in their house, and since they invited you in, the legal right's there. Even if it was just an old farmer who works with demons now, and has some sort of domain over the house still because he died it and he owned it before he died. Now he got you to get in a ghost team to give it permission, give his master, the demonic master. So I think the church, anything that's not done totally in the name of, there's no science. You can't poke the sticks. You know what? Calling this a science is kind of like if it's dealing with spirits. It's sort of like going to the insane asylum and then poking sticks and doing experiments with these people and then calling that science. And like, oh, you're doing help for them because you're seeing how much pain they can endure if you give them electroshock therapy or whatever, or something primitive like that. Unless the actual goal of the team, trying to identify things without making it worse, that's one thing. But is there really a need? I can't tell you how many times I didn't need to go there and verify they had a ghost or a demon. You can get that on the phone if you know what you're looking for. It's like some of these guys who repair guitar amps and so forth. You can get to where you've been in the business so long that you can hear them describe the symptoms, and they know what kind of things to ask. Like when you turn it on, do you first hear a pop, and they know what questions to ask, and when they hear the answers, they start to form a diagnostic opinion, and usually it's spot on. So, I don't know, it's not for the fun, but ghost hunters are really different than what we do. Not just for the motive, but the rest of it also. So I guess it depends on what the goals of the team are, like the mission statements that give a long answer. And are they really what Father Gary Thomas and Michael's Van Halen built area would call a discernment team? That's a team that's actually trying to determine if there's a spirit there. And it's not, just a purgatory spirit. You can say, the 8-day prayer that I got in the back of the book. See what it in the Catholic Demonologist Handbook. It is the let's see, and it's only important to mention because I put this in there last and I got all this feedback about, hey, that worked, and then you walk into the house. Right. They're not one of those nut jobs that say I freed 1 million spirits. Or you did a prayer. It's, right here, it's Saint Gertrude. It is a Thursday, Saturday. It's a 7-day novena for every day of the week, and each one you say an Our Father and a Hail Mary. Been very effective. The problem is well, if you call it a problem, we don't want to have so many demonic cases, but that's the ones we get. Is that there's so few times when we get to use it, because by the time they come to us, it's already a demon. What if it just started as a purgatory spirit, and they gave a demon permission because you have one on site anyway? Right. Something to think about. I don't know what's going on. I apologize for my wife's going out, but she was not going to do the show originally tonight and decided to be a trooper and then to pop in there and put her game face on. But she's got a few things that she's got to deal with and work with without giving more details. Deb knows what they are, and Deb's had some of those herself. And so thanks, Farah, for showing in for a little bit. Yeah, initially, when she wasn't sounding up, I noticed I don't see her VU mirror pop up and down. What's up with that? More technical jargon for you guys to bore the heck out of you. So onward and upward. We have plenty of questions here and plenty more to go. We need like a big spinning wheel for some of these. So where do demons go when they're cast out? There's like several questions here. Did you ever ask a demon for their name? I think people do that one way too much. And yeah, well, maybe we'll take this one at a time if they're all, where do demons go when they're cast out? I think we'll start with Michael on that one. Oh, wait, Deb, where do demons go when they're cast out?
Well, I hope they go back to hell. But if there's somebody in the room that happens to be wide open, there's a possibility they can go into another person.
Possibly.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. I guess it kind of comes over there. Remember that question about when you say there's an exorcism going on, can a demon just leave that person and then jump into an innocent person, for example? I use the word innocent, so it's kind of an innocent bystander thing instead of the next person who's worthy of possession. And the answer is...
if they even tell the demon to come into them, take me instead.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Right.
Oh, I know. Too
Not
much.
good.
Wasn't
Not
personal
smart.
for Deb's sake. Yeah. And that's a sad thing. And that's what our instincts is too, someone who would stick up for you and jump in front of the truck in order to push the person out of the way. Well, unfortunately, you do that when you're dealing with a demonic, you can end up possessed. But it won't be in the same way that if you had done it and gave it legal right from another reason. That's a little more complicated. Right. That's almost a question in itself.
If you see a child suffering, going through possession, right, and you're not familiar with possession, and you really don't know anything about it yourself, and you're trying to fight something that you can't see, and then all of a sudden it comes into you, But even then, it doesn't come into you right then and there. It could be a couple days, or it could be a week later.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I mean, the timing is close by, but it's not that instant.
Yeah, and that's what some people do. There's some people said that they use the Ouija board for 21 years, and since they didn't have any bad experiences with it, that it's okay to use. because the taboo and the Ouija board has been around for a while now, and that's good. But you can just get one person kind of cocky. I never had any problems with Ouija board. Oh, okay, thank you. I guess it's safe now.
Right.
But whatever you do with the Ouija board, it doesn't have to happen. Bad things don't have to happen to you right then and there.
Yeah.
Okay? It's going to catch you when your guard is down, when you don't expect it.
Right.
Exactly. And that variable again is there. Isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it can enter as a generational curse as well. So a lot of people think they don't have something, and lo and behold, like we're working with a daughter or something, next generation down, and this thing's manifesting and talking. How'd you get in? Oh, Grandma played with the Ouija board. She wasn't into witchcraft or anything. She just played with the Ouija board, and this thing came in attached.
I don't know when that first came out officially as a game by Parker Brothers. I thought it was in the 60s, but
right.
turns out there was another. It was just masonite with a sticker on it. And then you see more elaborate ones. They're almost kind of cool looking. That's the allure, huh? Making them look more exotic or whatever. Did you see there's a new Jumanji movie coming? Did you see that? So we saw that at the Spider-Man trailers at the beginning of the DVD, which took forever. It's like I think it was like 20 minutes of the previews. But yeah, now folks out there who are listening and watching, of course, well, I'm listening. It's not radio anymore. It's now going to be a computer program, and instead of Jumanji coming to you in their little world, you get pulled into their world, which is just as freaky. And do you bring the game with you? I don't know. It's a little different. You become the video game characters that you chose in it. So that's going to be cool. It has Jack Black as one of the characters. It's basically some kids who choose these characters, and then when they get sucked into Jumanji world, you can see that they had become the characters in the game. So one kid becomes Jack Black, some nerdy, archaeologist or safari guy that wears that white hat, whatever, and the shorts. And one of them turned out to be The Rock,
Right.
And so it's just funny. It's probably going to be making fun of video game stereotypes too, like in a way that's that movie with. The guy from Home Improvement, Galaxy Quest, made fun of Star Trek and some video game elements too. That was pretty good. That was pretty good for its time. They should have made a sequel. They make sequels for really bad movies, and yet they haven't made a sequel for that one. That would have worked. They could have done that. I don't know. It's amazing the ones they come up with. Like, you remember the whole 9 yards? I had that guy from from Friends. I don't remember his name. He played Chandler. And did they have it? I don't even remember the people that were in it, by name right off the top of my head. But
Bruce Willis and somebody else.
Bruce Willis, yeah, he played a gangster. And Natasha, whatever her name was, some foreign model or something. And well, then when they tried to come up with a sequel, and they tried to use the same thing that worked for the first one, even though there was kind of at the basic end, there was kind of a mutual, I guess, respect by the end of the first one between Willis and the character, played by the guy. I can't remember his name. That's probably why he's not in movies anymore. What's that guy's name? All the movie producers sitting around. What's that guy's name again from Friends? Never mind. You can't remember his name, and they move on to the next guy. That's why he's not in movies anymore. All those Friends people all forgotten now. That's the way it is, isn't it?
Right.
Let's go on to the next question. Oh, yeah, well, that's... Do you ever ask a demon their name? Well, you know what? I guess we can just kind of put it in there. Not that. Well, Deb can understand this one from experience.
Yeah. Well, I know during an exorcism, a priest has to ask the demon's name in order to cast him out.
Yeah. At some point or another, you might want to know its name so that you can order it out by its name. It's supposed to be more effective. The problem is they're not forthcoming.
You have to reveal his name.
Yeah, they don't give him freely.
He cast out in the name of Jesus.
There's a lot of times you'll go through those and you don't get a name ever, and yet you get the job done because it's a battle of the wills somewhat, I guess, between Jesus, and the spirit, but it's being used as you, and you're the vessel. If you're a weak vessel, well, you're not going to do so well. If it's not God's permissible will for you to get all this information, it's extra information, and it's more of a learning lesson for everybody, who knows? Here we go with the gray shades again. And Christopher, would you like to add anything in that, and then we'll go to Michael?
I just keep thinking about the different biblical things with, the importance of names and everything, and I have always been told that only the properly ordained minister should be directly asking their names, because in the order of the whole leadership and the whole structure and everything and the authority they've been given, the commoner, shall we say, should not really be messing around with it or talking to the demon directly. But that's so I would probably kind of, if I was ever faced with that, I probably would kind of step back and shy away from that. Just because that's, like I said, everything that I've read, study, my the whole scripture study and everything, the concept of names is so important throughout the scriptural text. And in my imagination, I think, oh, Lord, if they're important there, how much more important directly when you're dealing with angelic and demonic entities. I'm like, who am I? I would never go there, but that's me.
Mm-hmm. So far, anyway. So far. In a way, you're dealing with it every day. I mean, like I said with that call, and then there was one a few days ago, someone was calling on the person's behalf, and they have a drug habit, and they had to run, and another guy 2 weeks ago had a porn habit, went to a nudist beach after having an exorcism. And that's what gave the demon his spiritual vulnerability and invitation, more or less. Something else usually brings it in and gives it the full invitation, but it's standing on the doorstep waiting to come in. When you put the food out for the cat, like at porn addictions or, drug abuse, especially immorality stuff, it's worse than the drugs, even though it's an immoral thing in itself. But Michael Norton of the Van Halen belt.
Hey, like based on what you're talking about, Ken, we used to call that after I do liberation prayer and something gets expelled. I tell the people, Jesus just changed the keys on the locks. Don't let the thing back in. And that's what they do, right? Like every dog returns its own vomit. Unfortunately, they don't get what happened. But back in the early days when I was being trained for this by the Holy Spirit, I did some stupid things because all I had to refer to was a Bob Larson. And so we'd ask spirits their names, and we always got lies. In the name of Jesus, what's your name? It'll be Cheryl. You're going, what? And it's like, so it's like it was fruitless to ask them their names, especially they knew where you're at and where you stood. So just after a while, we just kind of just went towards what they were exhibiting, what their sin was, and went after that. You didn't benefit at all. If you get something higher up the food chain, you get your name. Now I understand it's not good unless you really know what you're doing and where this is going, or you've been instructed by divine, sources to go do this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say, too. That's, you ask these questions, and some people, it's go by the Bible quote. That's why you can't be what's called a biblical demonologist, whatever. I guess it's a definition I kind of put out there, a title. And the problem with that is that there's not enough information about them in there. There is in the church through years, through experiences, the saints, and, catalog case studies, which aren't readily available. And fortunately for some of the seminarians, they can go and study on that for a time, or you can just be old, like me and the wife, and I've been around this stuff for, over 40 years, and then our Deb, just being around it too. This is why, it's funny, because you know what, Deb is here, and she was on the roller coaster ride when it derailed. It's like and all the things that we do and stuff like that, she learned about roller coasters,
All right.
And a lot from the School of Hard Knocks. So this is
You're right about that, Ken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God bless our sister Deb over there, and of all places to live. But you're not that far from the ocean either. But that's one of the things that I think it would be cool if it wasn't a polluted ocean.
Right.
Yeah, because I had a chance to go to Florida, and it kind of fell through there. It wasn't a chance, I guess, if it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, you don't believe in a demon; they'll tell you lies, and don't go by the Bible where it makes it look like all you have to do is say "In Jesus' name, be gone," or "In Jesus' name, do this or that,"
Right.
And then it's done. That's the amateur. You come out of school half-cocked and unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what's going on, and they had this idea that everything's just all black and white in there. It's that simple. And we keep talking now. There's not a gray area right there.
Right.
And you might never get to name. And then they'll hear the first name they get. Oh, Beelzebub. Oh, my gosh, this is the major one. Stop the presses. It's like, but it's just a little girl. Well, maybe she's going to be president of the United States one day, and the demon knows that because demons can predict. Just like that's so many levels of wrong, isn't it? Okay, without beating that one to death, let's see what the next one is. Let's see. Other than the St. Michael prayer, are there any particular prayers that should be said daily to warn off any possible demonic attacks from happening? Well, that last part kind of complicates the questions a little bit because, Mike, myself, Deb, we have our protection prayers, but do we consider them that we're preventing demonic attack from happening? I guess that's part of the goals. That you don't get that. I hate it whenever they mess with your brakes and you go out in the morning and and you push the pedal to the floor and or something like that. Like some mobsters coming to get revenge, or it's better than Bruno coming over to break your legs when you owe gambling money or something. But protection prayers. If you are the oppressed, it is different than if you once were the oppressed many years ago, or if you're continuing to invited in one way or another because you're not being a good boy or girl, or you're doing the work that we're doing and you're invited in because you're meddling. Are the prayers going to be the same? Not exactly. Especially when it goes from being victim to, I don't know, field soldier, something along those lines. We say the prayer is a little bit different. You get a little bit of a different kind of thing, and there's so many attributes that could happen when you're saying prayers to protect yourself if you're the victim at the time, versus if you're just trying to keep it off you when you're trying to help the victim. I'm going to pass this around a little bit with prayer guru here with Christopher Sampson. He knows that we have to pray to keep him off us on the littlest things sometimes because it's called spiritual warfare for a reason. Mm-hmm. Christopher got some 2 cents to put in there, and we'll finish it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was, I kind of, when I was hearing you give that question, I was thinking about, where my clinic, and we have clients that come there voluntarily, receive their medication to help them on the road to recovery. And they tend to get upset early on if certain ones get upset because, oh man, I'm dealing with, these cravings, I'm dealing with, this and that, and I want to say, and I do tell them, okay, but coming here and getting your medicated dose is only part of it. It's only part of the recovery. It's how you're living. It's who you're around. It's are you trying to do better in your relationships and communicating? That's just a part of it. So, there are prayers, but I would probably tweak that, for lack of a better word, and being a drug counselor. But I would say that it's how are you living? Are you trying to live in a Christian way, in such a way that you're not leaving yourself as open as before? And then you add the prayer to that. That's part of the the life, yes, but what else are you doing to make sure that, you're in that state of grace, you're in that life of grace? That's the only thing I would probably add to that is, yes, there are the prayers, but that's only part of it. It's only part of the walk.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Spirit, there's acts too, not just prayers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying too, because there's, when you're the victim, you got to stop your partying and all that stuff. You've already crossed that line like the diabetic has with sugar. Right. You might have to have that diet the rest of your life, because don't be surprised, just like someone who stayed away from a certain type of food and they think they're no longer allergic to it because they feel pretty good, and then they take it and then their throat closes up and they end up in the hospital. And that's how it can be with these matters of the Spirit, that it's been quite a while. Maybe I'll go in with my girlfriends and go get a palm reading or something. If that was what got you there to begin with, it's going to be more lethal, if that's what it originally was. Like there was this case, we'll just say his name was Tim, and when he started doing readings again, that was what got it in there. It came back and it became possession instead of oppression. And that's what it'll do. It'll take the 7 times 7 step. It'll go straight up 7 times higher on these levels. I mean, 7 times higher isn't, it's a degree. It's not necessarily that level, like it goes from oppression to possession. So there's different degrees of oppression, there's different degrees of possession. So it does gain ground in that game. So Michael or Deb, what say you?
What I would say too, and I kind of want to stay on top of what Chris mentioned too, a lot of it is, it's not just reading the prayer, it's how real Jesus is to you. We do some stuff, we work with our survivors. The ones who excel in their healing are the ones who truly connect with the real Jesus, and we call it practicing his presence. It's a lot like just, bringing him in, like, how real is Jesus? Did something bad happen to you today? Go to him, talk to him, and just try to keep instigating conversations with Jesus throughout the day and bringing his unseen real presence into the real. And that's a lot of it. It's not just mumbling prayers. You see like these ghost hunter guys like Zach Bagans and those guys just, reading this stuff out of the ritual and stuff. And holding up the cross, there's no power to that. It's how deep your faith is. I mean, I could walk into places and not need the cross because I know how deep Jesus is with me. He'll be like the buffer going before me. It's that connection there with Jesus that really makes a difference in healing and protecting people away from the demonic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's something to that too, that people think they can just grab the sacramentals and then they can go in there and it can be of any walk of life and spirituality. And suddenly you're an exorcist, or that you'll be protected as just anyone else. Yeah, and it is, that you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. The talk the talk would be the praying part. But the only thing we did notice that, of course, there's a variable and all that stuff, and that's just when we pass these prayers on to people who consider themselves another faith, outside of Christian, and usually we don't run into Jewish people, and they say this, and we say, try it anyway. Say in Jesus' name. I think God gives this kind of grace period, and he wants to show an example. Like when Jesus cured the lepers, they were Samaritans, I think, most part. They weren't Jewish, right? And the Samaritans were known to be pagans and not Jewish. The Jews were down south, was going, from the time before Maccabees and through it to Jesus' time. So I think that's an interesting note in itself there. Anybody have anything to add? And then we'll move on to the next question. But let's see, what do we got? We can do our commercial. I want to apologize, everybody, for our technical difficulties. Farah's mic, I had a new mic on there, a new cable. And it just went out. So I have no idea why. And then guess what? Facebook had solved this problem where you can automatically schedule a show and it'll start on time. And we did that for several, including the first show. I relied on it to work, and it didn't. Where you go in there and you just start the stream, guys, for the technical things. And then the show started. Well, I had to manually start it, and tonight I actually clicked the first part of it, and I went to manually start it, and had put it online, and then when you manually start it, it drops it out, so it didn't drop it out either. And we're hearing this echo stuff, so I'm going to edit it before I put it on YouTube. This is Kenneth Deel along with my wife, Farah Rose Deel, and we're going to talk to you real quick about our books. So we have 5 books available right now and 1 on deck. The books are the Catholic Demonologist Handbook along with the Workbook and Study Guide, and the Christian Demonologist Handbook along with the Workbook and Study Guide, and that's for all denominations. Well, we also have the Haunting Self-Help Guidebook.
Any and all of these books are going to help direct you to not just the natural causes, prevention, prayers to assist you, to keep you and your family protected.
Yes, real solutions done by real people in the field. And we're sharing our knowledge and information to help you help yourself or help a friend or a client if you're in the field yourself.
www.swordsofstmichael.org or
www.catholicdemonologist.com. You can buy the books direct and get them personally signed.
Are you looking for something special to remind you what a mystical experience prayer can be? Are you looking for something beautiful to hang in your car for protection? Try Prayers by the Bead. You'll find a variety of original, one-of-a-kind Anglican prayer beads, Lutheran, Methodist, Catholic prayer beads that are made to your specification using our materials or your materials made to order in just about any design that inspires you to get prayed right up.
Farah has about over 100 in her inventory pre-made, and guys, yes, there's plenty of rosaries and designs for you, so to give to your father, for yourself, for your own prayer life.
We have a variety of exorcism medals, including the St. Benedict cross, beads, anything for your spiritual warfare needs. So, if you'd like some more information, find my page on Facebook, Prayers by the Bead.
www.etsy.com/shop/Farah Rose.
Or on Facebook, Prayers by the Bead.
Good grief. You guys there?
I hear you now.
Yeah.
Yep, here.
Yeah, we're
I
here.
don't know. I'm a little half absent-minded. I don't do well. I remember having the band, and I was the guy who could fix stuff, not the guy who ran the mixer or the lights or anything like that. And then, like I think I was saying at the beginning of the show, it's like when a guitar player says, my amp's not working. They want to have another amp. And the other guys, you know, the rhythm guitarist has got a 15-watt practice amp with him, you know, because he took it in his hotel room or something. So it reminds me of, it's like, oh man, you know, but I'm the singer and I'm the front man. I'm the guy who's got to flip around like David Lee Roth and tell the jokes like Rodney Dangerfield. Well, not exactly, you know. And that's what the 80s and 90s pertailed to some degree. So it's like if anything can go wrong, it will. So I didn't realize that the volume level was turned down for you and that, but that still doesn't explain why. Yeah, that was the, yeah. And I had the thing on studio mode and I left it in it. Yeah, I'm just totally distracted. So no, it's not demons. You know, we got some stuff going on. It had nothing to do with the ministry or the work, and I don't know. Everything else is good in the household and family. So let's get back to it. Let's break it up with a little bit of news first. I think that's probably what we should do. What do you guys think?
Good.
What's a great way to start than complaining about Bob Larson again? Yeah, when all else fails, blame it on Bob.
Well, what about Bob?
Well, I heard there was a 27 question that you can answer to find out if you're demonically oppressed or possessed, I guess. And according, remember, Bob Larson calls temptation possession. You know, if you're if you're addicted to smoking, you're demon possessed by the demon of smoking. And he makes a lot of money on this stuff too. So what happens when you go to this page called Demon Test? I think it's demontest.com, and you see a screenshot of it here. And this is in this section. I was surprised to find, that, not that I was demonically oppressed, but that when you go there to check the test out or whatever, you have to add it to the cart in the online bookstore, and it's $9.95, which is a little higher than a lot of Kindle books that he would sell, probably. Well, anybody else would. He probably asked too much for him or something. Who knows? Well, what does a demon test entail? Has anybody ever taken it before? Well, yeah, we know some people, and they actually probably passed the test when they should have, or failed it when they shouldn't have. One of those kind of things, but it just adds to the controversy of I always like this cross, and while we're in here and we commenting on this, Michael and everybody, and Deb, who doesn't know, what's the deal when you get a cross that's more like a motif, and it's just it looks like it's one of those ones that you'd make with Ronco's rhinestone stutter or whatever. It doesn't look like, Jesus would be like, that's not my cross. The demons would be like, ha, where'd you get that from? And like I always said, and the Sesame Street character said, today's show is brought to you by the letter T. But he's holding that like he thinks he's Gabriel Amorth. He's got a Bible in one hand. He holds it high. No. And it's on the right. It's on the right. And on the left hand, he holds some sort of, I don't know whatever that is. That just tells me that there's something wrong right there in itself. No, okay, Mike, but I'm just saying that. That whenever we go full force and we got some bad watch YouTube flag me for saying that, so right. You can't fight YouTube. You could say shoot and they'll act like you said the cow patty word, and that you need all the arsenal and ammo you can get. So antagonizing, which crucifixes do, they usually more antagonize and anger it. I'm not going to use the P word, so don't get any ideas, YouTube. It adds to the pain. It is lighting a hot foot underneath them in addition to, give them a wedgie, the demon. Mm-hmm. And Bob Larson thinks that these little bumps and, these little decorative things, because when we played the teenage girls that he has, Exorcist teenage girls supposedly, they have like these jewels and whatever all over the crosses and stuff. It's like, what is that? What is that supposed to be? Now, we played a little bit of this last week. Satanic Temple takes aim at corporal punishment policy with South Texas billboard. What's going on with Texas? It's like the new Oklahoma. What's next? The unveiling of Goat Boy in the park, with 2 children. It's like, Goat Boy liked children for dinner.
Oh my God. I mean, this is sick and twisted. Our religion doesn't believe in hitting children. No, we believe in raping them and beating them and programming them. I mean, what it's, I'm sorry. That's what I have to deal with on a daily basis. This is such a farce. Who could believe this?
I know. It's ridiculous. But that's where we're getting now. And I can have an article or two every week without even looking. Because they just come across, and without Farah looking for me, or anybody else. I just run into them. They paid to place this billboard along Highway 281 in Three Rivers area that read, "Our religion doesn't blah, 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 does not believe in hitting children." Yeah, they believe in killing them.
Right.
I mean, with all this stuff with Harvey Weinstein and all that stuff, they're probably just part of that cult anyway. That's what makes them pedophiles to some degree, or makes them a victim as a child, of pedophilia. But there's the typical symbol of the goat's head and the pentagram, pointing down, and for the fans of Wicca out there, that pointing down means hate, so suddenly hate is rising to the top. But the problem is, I think there's going to be some unity between pagans on this, like, oh, Satanism, a pentagram. But they don't even realize, this is people blindly wave sage and say it's Native American, even though Native Americans said, no, that's not. They're run-off spirits. Even we don't do that. that they align themselves with Satanists to some degree, and they buy into the more newer, lighter, and more friendly version that they're trying to put forth here, that's actually good for children and something more or less sinister than what it really is. So yeah, that just goes on and on and on. I tell you what, I'm going to save this other news item for next week because I got to hear Farah's opinion on it. I gotta. Mm-hmm. What's this thing right here? I know we're probably tired of hearing about the Las Vegas shooting, but this news article about this couple dying in a car crash, and there were ones posting saying there was more than one shooter. And it's like, to what degree the conspiracy theories really, I don't know, fly. It starts to sound like a movie. I want to see a movie about this with the conspiracy theory angle, starring Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. Like that original. And Patrick, what's his name? Not Dempsey. Who's the guy who played Jean-Luc Picard?
Patrick Stewart.
I want to see Patrick Stewart as the FBI agent. Yeah, the FBI is pretty much gone right now. Then we'll see her. Boom, boom, boom. Who is it? Oh, my gosh. But did that break it a little bit? No? Let's hear everybody else what you got to say about these last three news articles. Deb? Christopher? What say you?
Me? Okay.
Yes, you.
I'm just like, okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's been a few weeks we were talking about just kind of how open the whole Church of Satan and the whole occult has just gotten into the mainstream. They say, well, we've always been around. Yeah, but you're more in the shadows. Now it's like the shadows are now right before our very eyes. Mm-hmm. Even in the, you can even, just some of the shows that my kids watch, just very, oh yeah, we need to, just very New Age themes, pagan themes. Even one of the cartoons regularly has a character, her father is a demon. It's just right out there. And I just think, at one point not too long ago, we talked about, the signs of the times. It's just evil, and darkness is just taking on a very bold face, and is becoming even more bold, and especially as we see society accept the things that it accepts, all in the name of tolerance.
Yeah.
And various things like that, and not standing up for what is right, not standing up for the truth, not standing up for, long-held values, simply because you're Christian. We can't do that. They're so closed-minded. Okay, well, keep going the way you're going, and we'll see the darkness kind of increase even more as you keep pushing the presence of God away and His protection. So that's my thought.
It's funny, with evil so prevailing that we're gonna even have communication with some higher up officials, so to speak, about the appointment of exorcists, and nowadays it's like people are just shunning off evil like it's not in the world anymore, and everything is okay to do. It's just kind of like the days of Solomon to some degree, I guess.
Well, it's like that old. What is it? The Crowley and his do what thou wilt. As long as I don't hurt anyone. It's the whole wicked thing, and it harm none. Do what thou wilt. As long no one can tell me, who are you to judge me? And as long as everyone thinks that they are the definers of their own truth, then that's a big problem.
Yeah, it's like opinions. There's only opinions. There's no right or wrong. That's some idea.
Right. My truth is just as valid as yours.
I was watching, well, not religiously or anything like that, if you pardon the expression, the Exorcist series that started on Fox, and season 2 started up, and I'm not watching it anymore. We're starting to get into that weird area, that priests can be fornicators and so forth, and then we wonder why they get thrown across the room. When I saw the first season, I noticed that he was dealing with a possessed girl. I don't know how old she was, but she was like throwing him across the room, like literally, like tossed it. I don't know what effect. You go crashing into the table and all that stuff. You get all beat up and cut like a Bruce Willis film, the next Die Hard. And you're thinking, okay, that's over the top, but, they got to do sensationalism. Now they're going to well, let's not only make the demon look a lot stronger against a priest than, any priest than they usually are. Let's go the other way, and let's make them as depreciative as possible as far as their spiritual attributes go. How far can you go down there in the bottom line, unless he's, addicted to some forms of drugs, and, let's add to his list of the 10 Commandment violations. And then all it does is validate why he's getting thrown across the room. But is that to make it more, to traumatize it more, by putting ineffective priests, and they're the only ones who know this stuff's going on, and there's some underlying global conspiracy thing going on in the background, but they keep going to these different cases like every week with some main characters in there. But it's just, I don't know. A priest friend of mine was watching for a little bit too. I hadn't talked to them since then, but it's just getting over the top. Let's see what this other one was here before this one dies of old age. Proof of the afterlife. Mom feels poltergeist that has plagued her home. Well, how many times have we heard that there, Michael?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I had 2 poltergeist cases before we actually go into this. I don't even know if it's worth going into the actual story in itself. Not 2 poltergeist cases only. I'm talking about 2 off the top of my head right now. I can come up with many. I don't write about those. One of them was where the police even saw some things get thrown out. But then when the team went there, that I was with, we reviewed the video later, and we saw between the people who were investigating and sitting and talking on the bed that when something got knocked over, the camera catched between the cracks of the people. The bodies weren't interlaced to such a point where you couldn't see, everything behind them necessarily. We could see that the girl pushed over the lamp, with her fingertips. And then when people turned around, it's like, was that and she's like, yeah, it just, but we saw that on the camera, but no one saw it in person. Sometimes that's the good thing about cameras. Sometimes they catch that stuff. And that was one of those cases where, we had Doris ask earlier about investigations and people in the church, a Catholic Church, for example, is it okay to be a paranormal investigator? Well, this is why that's needed sometimes on these cases where there's a lot of activity, because you got some 15-year-old who's looking for attention, and that's one of the things that you get. You'll get people afraid to go to those the most because that activity is the most type of that, older priests and so forth. People aren't as willing to run to that one either. You got to kind of keep it discreet and let them experience it, firsthand without telling them what it is, just to get them in the house. So you don't, like in that movie Poltergeist, when that first team came in there and that one woman was just shaking with her cup, when she saw it for the first time. That was pretty funny. But yeah, this is, I don't know. This stuff I don't believe in. The first thing they say, they take pictures. I've seen people fake photos where, oh, look at this photo here. Oh, don't let me see videos. Don't let me see photos, please don't. And it looks like they just took like a toy airplane and they just took it by the screen like this. And then it's like, well, if you've seen the phenomenon firsthand, that's not how it is. And it's easy when you get the wing of the plane flying through the shot like this, and it's doing it kind of a steady motion, and there's something eerie about the movement of it, even when they're able to manipulate items, and they usually don't do it in front of a camera and go out of the way. The slight angle, the angle, the camera shot was so tight that it would have had to go out of its way to try to move itself in front of the camera, and they don't do that because usually there's the smaller demons that are doing that type of activity. No, it's not a bunch of kids at an old a school for kids, or your grandfather who's mad because you painted his favorite bedroom wall a color he hates. There's always been, and like I said before, I've asked people for the mainstream out there, Lorraine Warren, John Zappis, and I didn't know Ed that well when he was still, we'll say, conscious before his stroke that he had in early 2000. But I did that just to compare notes to the modern perspective, from a perspective that might lean a little bit science, where the church might, go in a different direction to some degree. And they said the same thing, and not as far as, poltergeist things go. We should expect that investigations are going to have to be done like that to some degree.
The hardest thing for me, Ken, is get my team to go out to a haunted house now. And not because of what's there, it's because of this paranormal stuff has stirred up everybody to think they have a haunted house. Mm-hmm. And for a while, you have to set up your time, set up the team, get them out there. It was like, there's nothing here. There's nothing. And it was a lot of that. So now it was like crying so much wolf, I could hardly get a person unless they could truly prove to us something's going on for even to show up. Yeah.
Because they go out there so many times, Mike, right? And they find that there's nothing there, and then eventually they're like, Boyle cried wolf, like, yeah, you want to go up this time? He's yelling wolf. No, to go up to the top, and you find a pile of, mush and bones.
Right.
This time the wolf didn't show up. And, that's the boy who cried wolf. And I'm sure that the devil likes that. And they work like the Borg, so they collectively probably, and, maybe even based on your team's experiences, will probably try to perpetrate something like that just to get you to, like they might know that 3 weeks from now. Well, let's go a little further. Say 3. I don't think they can look 3 years ahead. They're not that good. A few weeks ahead, a few months ahead, that you're going to get a legitimate case, and they know eventually that roads will lead to you and your team, for example, or an effective team. And so they get you kind of tired of that stuff. So maybe you'll back off in your protocols, or you might be too quick to call something mental, because it's easier to call it mental than it is, and blow it off, because you don't have to deal with it, and it could be something along those lines. In this case, it said aside from smashing photographs, slamming doors, and mimicking her boyfriend's voice, that's not even what we consider poltergeist necessarily, the slamming doors and stuff. That's activity. Poltergeist used to be the kind of rapping and stuff all over the walls and all that. They really had no kind of rhyme or reason. It wasn't actually from slamming doors. It was the sound of rapping without knowing what's rapping. Mm-hmm. Like prisoners don't like the food, and they're protesting, or a bunch of clanking and stuff like that. The disembodied voices, that's a common one that you won't get necessarily from that type of place. But I don't want to spend too much time on these things. People might find it interesting. If you want to head it out, I think you can probably... Where was that page at? Anyway, that's the headline right there. Not like there's plenty of, not like there's not plenty of these things. Sorry, I'm going in Alex Jones mode. All right, so the only way to top this off is to just find out. I am Dr. Freud's therapy ball. Please have a seat. To ask Dr. Freud. See what Dr. Freud has to say. Dr. Freud?
Achtung, I am Dr. Freud's therapy ball.
And it is Dr. Freud's therapy ball. And we got some other things too. The Curly Howard Ghost Box, where we'll be able to get answers from Curly Howard from beyond the grave, and also and Rodney Dangerfield, got one of those, and so we're gonna do different variations of this to keep it light. We talk about dark topics tonight. People are like, how could you be so silly on some? No, I'm not being silly on the dark topics, all the time anyway. And what was the other one? We got oh yes, Ask Stephen Hawking. That'll be another one. So we'll get to. We have celebrities from beyond the grave, and Stephen Hawking. A little too early for that, but I'm sorry, folks. He just, I don't know. Stephen Hawking. I feel bad for him, but he knows he's after all this time, the guy's a genius, and he still believes the Big Bang Theory and all of the stuff. God said, "Let there be light," and then so the Big Bang Theory says that light was here before the planets.
Right.
I mean, if you want to go by that as from a theology perspective. See, this is why I don't do well when Farah's not here. There's my moral code. That's like the old Apocalypse Nation show. And we used to go off the deep end. Are we ready? I need a drum roll. He says, breakthrough. We have a breakthrough, according to Dr. Sigmund. Breakthrough of what? That's the big question. So let's go back to our questions here. Mm-hmm. You know what? I don't have access to the chat room for more than one reason. The good news is the show seems to be back on track. Bad news is up till now, well, up till the first break, it wasn't. Yeah, the more things I gotta do myself, and could I produce all of this myself? I don't want to take the fun away of it. I do it all myself live. So the host with the mostest. Why would a demon teach the sciences? You've heard about this in the past, and even some of these civilizations, people believe that that the gods and goddesses taught them these technologies and stuff. Even the Egyptians with mummification or something like that. But on the another side, there's people who acknowledge that demons have taught them about this and that. For example, I don't want to give credit to the Book of Enoch. Don't get me started on that. But you know how there's ideas in there about demons giving certain things to even women. Was it makeup and so forth? I don't know. That come up in the Renaissance when they wrote that book and said, "Oh, look, we forgot the Book of Enoch back in the Council of Nicaea 1,000 years ago." I don't know. It just seems like it could be fiction. We got some good writers, around then. But I think it is apparent because it does seem that there's a line between science and magic too. Because if you have a demon doing all the weightlifting, it's not a science. But if they would teach you science, what would they gain is kind of the thing. It's like, why would they teach science to somebody? How would that help them to achieve their goals, which are usually the same? Christopher, Deb, let's start with you. What do you think? Let's hear the wisdom of Deb. After she unmutes your mic. I don't blame you, Deb. I haven't... Deb? Uh-oh, I better check and see if she's in here.
We lose her.
Oh, I lost Deb. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no.
I lost Deb a long time ago, apparently. Anybody in the chat room tell me that Deb's missing? Deb's MIA? Deb, you can call back if you would like, so I don't have to hear the ring like I'm doing bowling for dollars or anything like that in the old days. And that number is 417-213-5599. That's our call-in number for others as well who want to call in, get put on hold, and get kicked off the phone. Deb probably went to bed, knowing Deb. It's like, it's been so long, I'm going to bed. So back to the question. We'll start with you, Christopher. Do you want me to rephrase the question since I already distracted everybody off of it?
No, actually, I'm having a good memory day, so I remember
I'm not.
the
I'm not. I'm going to have to get some fish oil tablets or something. Yeah.
Then
go to Mike.
To me, it goes back to evil never really appears evil. It appears as a good for, why then would it lure and attract people? I mean, Eve saw the tree, and it's the text says the tree looked very desirable, and it was pleasing to look at. And that is the seduction of evil. If it came out with its demonic monster's face, our God built-in reaction would be to turn and run. And so it goes under the smoke and mirrors, it pulls us in. And so why would demons teach sciences to humanity? Well, in a way they can inspire an attraction that eventually leads to brokenness and something very negative and harmful. But it started out as something good. Two people are attracted to each other, okay. Kind of one of the off examples of this is one of the rehabs I worked at, and we'd get two people in there that were fresh off of trying to get off of drugs, and they would come, and within a matter of days of meeting, oh yeah, we're going to move in together. We just love each other so much. We're like, you just met 2 days ago, and you're still showing up for everything, every illegal substance in your bloodstream. Okay, this must be true love.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like the Book of Enoch, like you had said, it talks about these demons and other texts from history, that demons did this or demons did that, which seemed like a good thing, but we don't necessarily know in the hands of humanity, broken humanity, sinful humanity, where this supposed good thing can lead. And I tend to think theologically that they would inspire this good thing, knowing that 9 tenths out of 10 is going to lead to something very negative and potentially evil.
There we go. Michael Norton.
I'm going to kind of right along the lines of what Chris was saying here, too, because I was kind of thinking about this the other day on an off-topic, and it goes back to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Like Chris said, there's good, but there's not God good. And I think that's back when science started for us. We had to live on our own and start understanding things. There's a tree of life good where we understand science, yet we still have a balance where we know God created the universe and we don't put anything ahead of it. And there's a science side where it's from the tree of knowledge of good and evil where it becomes a religion. It becomes where we construct our own towers of Babel with it, and we push out God. So that's where something good can become something evil and under good intentions. And I think that's why the demons want us to do this, because if man becomes God, he's not focused on God.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's the thing. The knowledge thing is the clincher too. Is that that's the original sin, and that's the fall of man. That they want to be like God. When you want to, like the Jeopardy people. I never learned nonsense, and no offense to people who like to read and learn about world geography. Everything I always learn, and luckily I'm not bored. I always learn stuff that can be applicable to life. Repairing things or whatever.
Right.
Even all the artwork and stuff that I do for the show, it's all useful. It's just not stuff that just hangs in my house and something to boast about when people are over, or anything like that. And so I think knowledge is sometimes, people, it's like a status symbol or it's pride. But teaching science to some degree, I guess it can teach, it tries to move you away from God. Look at the way they're coming up with these things that we got to go to Mars. And if they believed and trusted in God, God wouldn't let this planet just suddenly be obliterated and everybody's dead. That you got to go run to Mars and you got to take, suck in that atmosphere. How's that going to be better than even the moon, which they can't even seem to land on and create a base like with Martin Landau's Space 1999. That old TV series. I was expecting at least something like Dr. Evil had in Austin Powers. Don't get me started on that, But that's, the teaching the sciences and stuff, I guess they just kind of hid behind that, when you can call it a science, and it was alchemy, now with pharmaceuticals, they even have the alchemy symbol in there a lot. And I wonder really a lot about pharmaceuticals we were talking about one time before, because it has so many side effects that the side effects are off. We just laugh when they come on. It's like, oh my gosh, one of the symptoms is death? And that's the side effect? So it's like, what is it? You're swapping one thing for another one that's worse? That's like, okay, it's like bubonic actually cures the bubonic plague, but You'll get the Black Death instead, you know. So it's not so bad now, is it? At least you're rid of the bubonic plague, you know. But that's
one of them's
ridiculous.
back. Black Plague's back, or something came back.
One of those things, yeah, they got something going on there. And but did you hear two of the things, just on a little side note of interest, that they have engineered some sort of insect that's supposed to cut down on mosquito population? So anytime they do that, there's going to be a problem, because if they do some sort of genetic engineering on bugs and insects, they're going to find that that insect, nature has made it immune to a lot of things, but it's not going to be immune to those things. And then when it goes bites people, or it attacks something, and then you eat it, that there's going to be all sorts of diseases that come from that. They're just playing God, and they're really sloppy. Yeah. I wish I could remember that line from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, talking about when you acquire the technology without having the... if I can only remember the line, I'm sorry, folks. There is something when it happens so fast, technology comes before the wisdom comes with it, that you end up with a Jurassic Park, you know, which dinosaurs going crazy, getting out and eating everybody, you know, in all the episodes, you know, one case or another. And that's what we got here, and that's what we have with nuclear power also, you know, and we don't want to see it again with genetic engineering. I think they did it with something else too. But if you read around about it, if you type it in, what aren't they screwing with for genetic engineering, and how will it affect us? And we're going to do a show, or a part of a show on that topic. Well, by the way, folks, we're going to do a show with author John Carpenter, who's also a psychologist in this area, who is a team member. You haven't met him yet. It's just that he's hard to get a hold of, and so I got his cell phone number now, so I don't have to go to his secretary, for example, I guess. But he wrote a book after a lot of research on the miracles of these different apparitions, and relating to the Blessed Sacrament and Eucharist and so forth. And we're going to put him on because it's supernatural. I don't mean to be that Sid guy, but they hear about these stories, so it totally fits in to the show. And these are legitimately proved, just like the Shroud of Turin, when they tried to do scientific experiments to find out the years of Guadalupe, and they find all these anomalies in there that are just supernatural. That's what this is going to basically entail. It'll be all these supernatural things of good instead of evil. And that's why we want to call it the real deals, because everything's not demonology, you know what I mean? So, I wanted to talk about, let's see, how would this question be presented on the big piece of paper here? Let me go to somebody else's question here, so we can get more of these answered first, because I don't want to get to the later one. Let's see. One person said they didn't want to post the question because I don't want the evil to know what I question. Does that make sense? It was actually a follow-up to another question, but I think it kind of brings up another topic in itself. I even know this friend of mine who does the work we do, and I was kind of surprised to hear that, I don't call out for prayers because then the demons will know that I'm going to do that. Well, they already know you're going to do this. They know before you get the call, and they call you because they can see it. It's not like they can predict. But I thought that was really a surprising thing. So you don't call a prayer team and say, hey, say some prayers. We say some prayers for some exorcists that we know today that they're going to do the exorcism. And we do it at the time of the exorcism, too, to make it more volatile, potent. And that's more relevant. It's not like you can just deposit the prayers in a savings bank. I mean, it's better when it's right there because it's an in-your-face, it's a war. I mean, as opposed to giving them weapons, you're actually fighting it at the time of the battle, when you're providing prayers remotely, even relating to their success in the exorcism. It adds to it. So the reason I mention that in specific is because, well, let's see what you gentlemen and ladies, well, we gotta get, I mean, I just have to call her up, but I don't want that ringing sound showing up there. So I'll let one of you gentlemen answer it first. And I don't know, Deb's in the chat room. Mike, are you in the chat room or not? Do you see Deb anywhere? She probably just went to bed, on the East Coast.
I don't see her.
Oh, poor Deb. Yeah. Well, okay. All right. Anyway. So, what do you think about that one there?
I pray all the time. It's before and after, and I have an intercessor team too. It doesn't matter. They hate prayer, and that's our weapon against them. You have to pray. Yeah, the more people you get praying, the bigger guns you get. I had an incident like this Monday. Like I said, because I deal with the occult stuff. I got slimed last Monday night. I came home. I was working with somebody from the occult, and I walked into my house, and I had the weirdest freezing on me and this weird like sweat manifestation. So I got out to the prayer team, like, hey, I'm being attacked right now. And it shut down in about an hour. So you have to. Like I said, they know. We bind them to silence. We forbid them from looking in on the deliverance session or the liberation session, whatever we're doing. We shut down their cult communications, whatever we can do. But, it's like you said, they're going to know. They know what's going on. They affect your car on the way in. They'll do other stupid stuff, whatever they can to interrupt. You just got to do what you got to do. Move forward and pray. Get the team after them.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, there was a... and this, let's see where my notes on here. This particular thing, it just, it's one of these kind of notions that they don't really understand the level that demons act like a collective, a collective knowledge amongst themselves that what one demon knows, another one will. I remember there was a session with a well-known person in 2008 at the Stanley Hotel, and they were talking to the what they used to call the Frank's box. That's for you people that were around that long. And they call it the ghost box or whatever now. And he said just because the voice on there told him something that only his dead uncle would know, why would you think that's your dead uncle? Because demons know that. The dead uncle's demon know it, that their personal demon, because they have at least one. There's enough of them for everybody to have more than one. And, like you have your own guardian angel and stuff. There's something that can just watch and observe what you do and say your whole life and didn't record it, the infinite memory or whatever they got. And that's something to think about in there, folks, that. So I thought that was another kind of foolish thing, too, is to not... you're supposed to be some expert in this. You're in documentaries or something. Why would you even assume that such a thing would be, your dead uncle just because it told you something that your dead uncle would only know? It doesn't matter if it sounds like him or looks like him. We know about the Great Masquerade, the little girl misses her mommy or whatever. Or you were saying earlier, your dead Aunt May, Spider-Man's, aunt. And she's still living. But my cousin Vinny. So that's just it just I guess it's there's so many levels of this work we do, and someone tell I'm a demonologist, or someone will say that, and then you find out they don't even understand the basic natures of spiritual warfare, like temptation and the levels it can go, and how it increases over the whole time. It's just foolish. It's foolhardy or whatever. Attack at a demonologist. Any other questions, comments of, oh, by the way, Mike, if you're in there and you got a question straight from the chat room, it's really off. The gals are out tonight now.
Yeah.
I don't want to call Deb and wake her up. I'm going to try to salvage this. Now I'm back to this, just like the radio show. When we had glitches, I got to go in there. I got to edit it. Now I got to edit video and wait 2.5 hours for it to render.
Oh, no.
Instead of just saving it and then taking, 8 minutes, when it's audio. So, but that's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving right along.
Yeah.
So much for audio visuals, I accidentally clicked and deleted something. It's not going very good for me tonight, folks. It could have been worse. It could be band night, and I could be hoarse. I still have nightmares about that, going on stage and my voice is hoarse, and it's like it's this really tall stage, or, you can create a mosh pit on the bottom of it because it's about as high as like 5-6 feet. That stuff still sticks with you, the concerns. That's the kind of concerns I carry for the show. So I appreciate everybody for hanging on. Let's see what we got here. Now, one of the famous ones is related to that one a little bit. Demons can't read your mind. Demons can't read your mind, and this is another one in there too. It's like if you understand, when people talk about the psychology of demons, if you know, you have to know demons, not know them like, I'm one of those necromancers or whatever, or read the Keys of Solomon. You're just going to learn demons from what they want to make you think that they are, so they can manipulate you. That's what the Keys of Solomon, all that stuff is. But they don't want you to learn any strategies of how to, defeat them or what to use against them. So anywhere else you go, outside of the faith, and you end up in some form of neo-paganism or some witchcraft or something, or Satanism, the only kind of demonology in there you're going to learn is what they want you to, understand and believe. That isn't applicable at all, not on any level. Now, I know some of these pagan religions have it right a little bit about some things that they go on and on about, but we're supposed to stay away from it because they're kind of occasions of sin and that sort of stuff. Just because it exists doesn't mean we're supposed to go and poke sticks at it.
Right.
But demons can't read your mind. We know this from sleep paralysis, that you can direct your thoughts to the entities. And people will say that even when they think it's a UFO alien, they'll say, it had a telekinesis thing, and like it was speaking with its mind and just looking with its big black coal eyes at them, and they can like hear their thoughts, because they can direct those thoughts. That's what they do. That's what temptation is. It's a picture show. It's an audio show. And when you get into later stages of demonic impression, going on to the line of obsession, subjugation, oppression, and possession, the more farther you go, temptation becomes audible. It becomes visual. That you'll see things. You won't just have them like a Vietnam flashback or something. You'll have an experience of it. So they'll get that much more potent. So temptation grows. It doesn't go away. And people don't pay attention to that fact. And what's temptation designed to do? Well, whatever they think it will contribute to your undoing. Or several members of the family, if you're head of the household, or if you're a parent. And, of course, if the child acts up, that can bring the household down, too. Anybody in the family can be a weak link and cause the Jenga game or whatever, that stupid game with the blocks, that you remember you pull the pieces out and then, that's the kind of game that I would probably, I'm always the one who pulled out the piece that collapsed, Or in Kerplunk, I'm always the one who pulled a peg out that made all the marbles fall down. I don't know what that's all about. Ironic when you consider where we're at now, huh, Mike?
Right.
These games, still childhood scarred memories. That's why I like those games like Mousetrap and all that kind of stuff. I won Mousetrap a lot. Don't you miss those games? They had a game called Crazy Clock too that was like Mousetrap. They don't reproduce that one anymore. It was the same thing, where you make this a really over elaborate contraption that simultaneously sets off a bunch of different household items like Mousetrap does to come to some end game point. When you add all the pieces in, that was just really cool when I was a kid. So I would always say enough about that topic, but demons can't read minds unless it's directed thought, like when you're in sleep paralysis and you scream at it, in the name of Jesus Christ, free me, or you just say, Jesus, help me, or something like that. They can pick that up when you aim it towards them, when you willfully direct thought. That's why you got to be careful. In the Breaking Curses prayers, it says, evil wishes, evil desires, hereditary seals. It says evil wishes, evil desires. We know some, we'll just say black witches, who directed thoughts, and then you know that, and then they find out these people, it's like, wow. It's like I just kind of like was thinking bad of them, and then the spirits that are attached to them because of that dark art go and do their bidding, even when they didn't intend to send them over there like a hitman. So even ignorantly, they they still act, and they may do it without your knowledge, understanding, or even if you're not even a professed or whatever you call it, wizard or witch or something like that. which is interesting in itself, which says something about thoughts, that even if it's not done in the words, that thoughts can be can direct demonic spirits, evil spirits. Because in itself, just directing a thought's like negativity. What do you think that's a negative thing? You think some amoeba is going to go over there and start floating over there? And it's like, oh, now they're going to get cancer now because I directed it over there with my telekinesis. You know, no, it's a spirit. It's acting like a hitman. And the point is, it's like, you know, when you get to some communion, they're like that pit bull that you got. You just look at someone the wrong way, like you don't like him. The pit bull jumps on him and closes its jaws on his throat, on the person's throat, and that's end game, you know. And you got to think of them like tack dogs, and you'll get more of an idea. Let's see what other kind of questions we got. We're going through them fast, aren't we? It's funny. Oh my gosh! Anything to keep the show alive, right, folks? If there's anybody left out there. The show must go on. Yeah, I've had my bass players play with a missing string. Remember, that's only 4 strings on a bass guitar most of the time. 5 if you're a fan of Dream Theater. And, you know, the show must go on. I broached my voice because I couldn't hear the monitors because the sound guy got drunk on a show with 500 people. Luckily, not as much more. And I couldn't hear myself. So when you can't hear yourself, you know, what are you going to do? Plug your ear with your finger the whole time? Well, you end up singing louder than what you're supposed to because there's no monitor. There's no way to hear yourself. All you hear is the band around you, and you feel your voice singing, which can keep you in key unless you're, you know, a different type of singer or something. So the, you know, worst case scenarios have happened before. And it certainly would take you out the next night if your voice gets roached. Ask Axl Rose about that one.
Right.
It was the king of throat nodes. You know, those calluses that you get on the inside of your throat from screaming, and you don't know how to sing. Axl Rose didn't know how to sing. Everybody's like, "Can you sing like Axl Rose?" They would say, "No, Axl Rose can't sing like Axl Rose. Don't know how to sing." That's why he's like had 4 throat node operations before the end of the tour of the second album. What do you expect? You know, L.A., Seattle, whatever. Those type. Things to look for in detecting and verifying a demonic presence. Oh my gosh, this could be a big one. This could be a long one. Yeah, back again in this book. I did something that was kind of, because someone asked me to do it, Greg Myers from Paranormal Task Force in 2005, and asked me to come up with that, and I put it in the book. And it's a list. And now where is it? And it's kind of, I just did an early draft. And what it is a demonic haunt questionnaire. It's because people needed a template. Everybody's not, you know, seasoned like we are, Mike, and we can't assume that. So we go in, you know, kind of a thing in here. It's it just starts off with you know, relevant family information, but we're trying to find out some things like when did they experience it, the 5 senses. What are you seeing with your sight? You know, black shapes and figures, shadow beings, red eyes, because you got to ask about the details of the shadow. That says something about what type of spirit is in the house. You know, full black silhouettes, head to toe human. I'm talking to toe because they tend not to manifest feet when they are a certain type of spirit. Small black shape like cats or, you know, strange identified smaller animals. And then you go to sounds, physical activity. And all of these things touch, frigid cold spots. Have your hair been pulled? I want to find out if you've been physically affected by these things. Sleep paralysis, unable to move. Sounds. Do you hear these phantom sounds? You know, we were reading earlier about someone hearing disembodied voices in the house. Knocks on the door with no visitors, particularly the 3 knocks. That's so cliche, but it's true.
Right.
And they'll do it, too. Once they're in your house, they might localize themselves in the bedroom and knock on your bedroom door. 1, 2, 3. Or, you know, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 different variations right there. But it's always that pattern of 3. And then after it's on the bedroom door, they'll get a shock of having it on their headboard of their bed. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I didn't know they're so courteous to let you know where they're actually moving into the house, but yeah, that's happened. And it's pretty frightening. And, like I said, they try to bring the anxiety level up, too, so it's got like a dual purpose. God's forcing them to do it. It's not going on under your nose to the point where you don't know that it's taking place. There's some signs, especially now. No one's got excuses anymore, not just because of this show, obviously, because it's kind of the buzzword, the 3 knocks, what it means. So, it narrows it down. Even the smells, sulfur smells, urine, burning flesh, rotting meat. Those are different types of... You can narrow it down to different kinds of spirit, can't you, Mike? You know what I'm getting to here? That'll help us. Mm-hmm. And it's these investigators are on site, and I tell them what to ask for. I just pass them this. I haven't updated this since 2006. That's what it's originally from, and I call it version. Used to do this when I was software programming, because you're another software programmer. I call it draft version 0.06. Remember, I called the show beta, or you call them alpha. That's what we do. Other senses, do you feel you're being watched? Have you ever awoken at night and felt a presence? And all these things individually may not be anything at all. And because sometimes people's imagination get carried away with them, where they connect the dots and the wrong things. Like, let's say I think I'm having a hardship right now. It's like the coolant's going out. My wife's car key remote quit. Then the dishwasher quits or something like that. Well, then you have to stop and think and, not let fear set in. And you go, well, there is a problem with that keychain. The battery doesn't stay connected. Well, the dishwasher's been making noise for a long time. Well, I noticed in the summertime that the heater kind of gets cool after, it stays on a little bit. And then so you start to rationalize. And that's why you got to use your rational mind. Don't let the other stuff get carried away. Use your logical mind on this type of thing. Wow, can't believe it.
There's also the stuff we talk about too, is like your senses. Mm-hmm. We call it the head in the breadbasket, or wherever, like your stomach. Your stomach will go haywire. When you get in the midst of something nasty, but you feel that weird pressure, it comes on your head really sudden, almost like a migraine. I mean, there's things like that you feel in the house too. It just come on all of a sudden.
Right in the frontal lobe, you mean, above the eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a flare or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the symptoms of oppression and possession too. Is they complain about migraines that they never had before.
Right.
Among other things. Like we're talking about fibromyalgia seems to be a symptom. Not that I narrowed it down to an actual name. How many years was Lou Gehrig's disease in existence before they actually gave it a name? Mm-hmm. But the symptoms they narrowed down to fibromyalgia. So I didn't know. I didn't hear about that 10 years ago. Have you, Christopher? Have you?
No.
Heard? So I've said that, and someone who is in medical field said, I don't know. And I said, well, statistically, we've had enough cases now. I'm seeing a pattern there. People that, entered into, working with the cult and black magic and stuff. Like, remember the Lady Gaga thing? We thought, oh, you're right, she's finally getting it now. She realized the fibromyalgia comes from the, too much exposure to demonic activity. But we can't expect, no matter how smart and people are, if they really don't know about this stuff, you hope that they're going to listen to you, when you've been around a while, and to say the least. And we have enough, colleagues and so forth to further validate the claim. But we're not going to be able to go to psychologists, even PhDs. And if they have some understanding of spiritual warfare, they're not going to connect the dots in a way. But you got to, tell them to give you some time to explain it and go into detail about these different cases. Give them a list. Give them some food for thought. Hopefully they won't be so full of themselves or whatever that they're not going to listen to you. But, as much as we had difficulties in the show tonight, I want to thank everybody for watching. And the last show is on YouTube also, as if you don't catch it on Facebook. And this one will be on Facebook, of course, about 5 minutes after the show, so you could watch it. It's funny, we had that for the first time. I think we had that thing with the echoing, because the browser doesn't close. You have to close the browser after you start the stream, and I haven't had to mess with that for the last 6 episodes, I think. And what happens, of course, is that you get this echo, because you get your broadcast coming back through the monitor of that's on the Firefox in this case, and then it gets rebroadcasted, so you hear this this continual delay loop, and it's just, oh man, I just feel like I just took back giant steps back after all these things we got worked out. So a little bit, and you know what? That's the first time that Facebook actually let us the scheduled live Facebook broadcast started. All these other times I waited and I'm watching my clock, and it's like, then I get this red text, before today, and it says, you need to broadcast within 10 minutes or just, or it'll end. Well, tonight it actually started. I had to go manually every night and start it up. And so I'm like, oh no, we're live. So at the very beginning of the video, it says the show's about to begin, test pattern, whatever, and that's going on for like 3 minutes, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Then the wife's mic doesn't work, so I mean, oh my gosh. But we're still making our transition. We still packed it with a lot of information, I guess you could say, huh? I guess that's the important thing. We have to look on the bright side, don't we? Yeah, everything's just commercial. Oh my gosh, stories, everything. I can't even. I accidentally deleted stuff fumbling around in here, and it's just crazy. I can't even find, where is that? Oh my gosh. And then it's like, my wife can't distract while I'm talking, It's like, come on, Farah, where are you? No, it's just those things kind of happen. Well, I'll be back next week, of course. No, when you noticed anything was gone, new microphone to burn up or whatever. I'm not sure what that was all about either. It's just the third thing that happened. So okay, well, thank you very much, folks, for tuning in tonight. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, The Real Deels. You can follow us on Facebook at Kenneth and Farah Deel OFS. That's where you see this broadcast on right now. That's our public page. Our public page, not our friends page. No, you can find that also if you type in the names. CatholicDemonologist.com is where you get the books, and the books are right here. CatholicDemonologist.com. I can't see now. Listen and watch every Thursday at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can just go straight to therealdeals.com. It'll take you right to the broadcast page if you want to watch it off-site with an embedded source. Twitter, hashtag TheRealDeals, and also the Instagram. It's at TheRealDeals. All right, thanks, folks. Appreciate it. God bless everybody. Have a good night, and see you next week.
Hello, this is Kenneth Deel and my wife, Farah Rose. Farah, this is something we get a lot of requests for, and people just don't know how to get a hold of us directly. By email, they would contact us at
help@swordsofstmichael.org or call us direct, 573-990-1333.
You can also text us using Facebook Messenger at Kenneth Farah Deel.
And we'll get back to you.
God bless.